Content for Devs. The world beyond programming.
Welcome everyone to the next episode of Content for Devs podcast. Today in the show we have great Chris Booth from Rubber Duck Dev Show. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm Chris, as you said, and as my name tag says. But in case people aren't seeing this and they're hearing it, I'm Chris. Yeah, I run the Rubber Duck Dev Show, also do coding with Chris, but we're taking a holiday break right now because my brain just needed a real big reboot after this year. It's been kind of a crazy year. So we are actually our first show back is going to be on January the 11th is going to come join us and talk to us about his show. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. That sounds like a long holidays, but I had that one this year, like a month holidays in March. This was kind of tricky because my newborn had appeared in home. So it was not full holidays, but still.
Not a lot of sleeping going on then, but
yes, never a holiday with a newborn.
It stayed this way until now.
Fortunately, I'm about 15 years removed from that part of my life. So, I get to sleep now, which is nice.
Yeah, this will be something I want to ask you about, like how you organize your day. But before we jump into that, we invited you to the show first because you are an awesome guy, but then because you are sharing some knowledge with the communities and you are actually a streamer. You have two different shows related to streaming. And I was wondering what brought you to the streaming services and why did you choose that as the medium to share your knowledge with the people?
Yeah, well, I actually started the whole video production thing probably 12-ish years ago. I had a little YouTube channel where I made miniature stuff out of mostly just garbage and things, but just kind of an artsy channel. And I did a lot of produced edited videos for that. And of course I was editing myself, and you know how quickly that works. And it takes no time whatsoever to edit videos. So, but I did that for several years and I really enjoyed it, but I just kind of ran out of time to deal with it, because jobs and kids and wife and, life, and editing was, every episode that I did, every like 20 or 30 minute episode that I'd put up would end up being 7 or 8 hours of editing time.
Wow.
And it just, it was just too much. So kind of took a break from the video editing for a while. And then as I started watching a lot of Twitch because I'm a big gamer. So I was watching a lot of Twitch streams and stuff and really enjoying them. And then I realized they don't have to edit things. Yeah. So they put content up, but they don't have the editing problem. So I started looking into, well, what do you have to do to stream? Because, you watch these guys, especially the really flashy ones, the gamers on Twitch, and it looks like it's really complicated stuff and it's going to take, forever to learn. Turns out it's really not that complicated. And what I found, so I started doing some gaming streams. And what I found out with that was it was very, very good at community building. I was meeting people from all over the world that I never would have gotten a chance to meet if I wasn't doing this. Right. So, and I like meeting new people. my dad was in the military, so I grew up moving every 2 years. So I was used to meeting new people all the time. And this was a great way to do that. Every stream I'd have a couple new people pop in and say, hey, I'm from Ireland, or hey, I'm from Ethiopia, or hey, and it was really cool just meeting all these different people and getting to talk to them about, their views on things and their cultures and the games that they liked, and finding out that I'm very much like a lot of people, even on the other side of the world, and that really is what got me hooked on the streaming stuff. So I never made much with the gaming streaming, but I wasn't really trying. I was just having fun with the streaming technology and kind of learning things. And it was something to do with my family. All three of my girls and my wife and my brother-in-law and my nephew we'd all get together in game and we'd stream all of us together. So, I had to learn how to do the NDI and the network streaming and all that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun just geeking out about the streaming tech. And then took a little break from that because things got busy with my life. And I'd kind of semi-retired from programming because I was a bit burnt out. I'd been doing it for 20 years and I was like, full time, and I was just a bit burnt and needed a little break. So I took a couple years off and did a few other things. And then I decided, okay, now I want to get back to programming, but I also want to do streaming because it's fun. So I said, okay, talked to my brother-in-law and said, hey, why don't we start a live show about programming? He was like, okay, we could do that. And I was like, well, I already have all the equipment. I already have all the, I know how to stream and stuff. So let's just do it. Right. And so we started doing it about a year ago and it's just been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of really, really cool people like you guys. I mean, I never, ever would have met people on the other side of the world if I hadn't started streaming that stuff. Right.
Yeah. I totally add on into it because the same applies to me. Like since I started Hanami Mastery, I met so many great people and came with relations with, it's just priceless, right? So that is awesome. But when you say that it was way easier to stream, this is something I need to ask you because for me, I watched your streams and you are very good in coding and interacting with chat, explaining what you are doing, talking at the same time of coding. And this is a skill. And I'm wondering, did you train it somehow or it was always like easy for you to go this way? Because for me personally, this kind of stuff is just a hardcore.
Yes, it's very hard for me as well. And you look like a natural when you do it.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't feel like a natural, so I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, it is really difficult because I am very much an introvert, as many programmers are. That seems to be like, 90% of programmers are very introverted. Not necessarily shy, but they like to talk to computers. That's why they're programmers. They don't necessarily like to talk much not that they don't like people, but talking really drains them. Yeah. Right. So, and so they typically are not very practiced at what essentially is public speaking. Right. Mm-hmm. And, there's this old saying, I don't know if you guys have it where you are, but in America, there's kind of a saying that most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy at a funeral. That's how most people feel about public speaking. So it is a skill and it does take a lot of effort and training. And that, I would say, is, for me at least, was very much the hardest part of the streaming. So, there are some downsides. You can't just edit out your goofs when you talk. Yeah. You got to be okay with stopping or, looking like a goof sometimes or, sneezing on camera. It's,
But from other side, when you get the opinion, like from us today, that you feel and look natural, it is how you look, because it's not how you made you looking by editing your videos, right?
Yep.
When I experienced being a guest in the Remote Ruby podcast, I messed up so many times during the interview and they needed to re-record, reply, and we even switched off cables. So everything needed to be replied. But then when I listened to the episode, I was looking as a professional, and that was all because of the magic of their editor. And this is why this is completely different world when you stream and different kind of skill set that you need to figure out and teach yourself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's difficult. So I'm kind of interested, Fede. I had a nice conversation with Seb, about a week or so ago. We actually just, hooked up and had like a 2-hour conversation about just all things geek. And it was really nice, but I haven't got a chance to talk to you much. So I'm kind of interested to see what your kind of perspective is on the streaming.
Yeah, I've done a couple of streams on my own, coding streams. As much as I can say from the outside, I think they are boring as hell because first of all, I was alone. There there weren't the kind of streams like yours where you already have some people coming. I was talking to myself most of the time, and that's very, very hard to do. But other than that, it was very hard for me to actually keep a flow of talking and programming at the same time, keep the interest on the stream. Mostly what I did wasn't programming per se. What I did was I investigated a couple of libraries like ROM and things like that and tried to see where it went. But yeah, that's my perspective on that. I really like streaming. I watch it a lot. I'm watching your Coding with Chris stream. In fact, I have you on my other screen right now because I was watching before we started. I watch a lot of streaming, but yeah, when I have to do it myself, it's hard for me to keep talking, keep explaining what I'm doing and not sound robotic or boring, because something I notice on you and some other streamers I follow, the cadence of your voice is, as I said before, very natural. It's like a conversation you're having. In my case, it's more like a narrator trying to explain what he's doing. So it's very different. And I think, it probably needs a lot of training, right?
Right. And if you were to go back and look at my early streams, you would see very much the same thing, because I spent a lot of time talking to myself, and you're right. That's kind of hard to do. It's also a little disheartening. You're thinking, why am I even bothering to stream? Nobody's here. What's the point? But
fortunately, I didn't have that, because I went to stream with a mindset of, I'm doing this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I said this in a previous episode. When I stream, something that happened was that I tend to be very dispersed. And when I'm streaming, I'm very focused on what I'm doing. So it's a hack for that as well. So it was a trick basically to hyper focus on something. So having little people didn't bother me, because I could make mistakes and it wasn't disheartening, fortunately, because I had the right mindset.
Yep. And
but
that's
still is hard to realize that you're doing a poor job, or I don't know if it was actually poor job, but knowing that you're sounding like boring and you can't control it yet that's the disheartening part for me.
Well, and that was it the same for me too. And I still have, starting this Coding with Chris, because I've done, I think, 4 episodes, maybe 5, something like that. I didn't start that one that long ago. And I was really nervous about starting it. And, I just had to go in with the mindset of, I'm just going to code. I'm doing something I want. I picked a project that I wanted to do that I just had been thinking about doing anyway. Yeah. And I figured, why not just stick a camera on myself and hit OBS and go. And what I learned early on, one of the tricks that I did for myself, because streaming on your own, and I think you guys have done a smart thing here by having 2 of you on this show, because you've always got somebody to talk to.
Yes.
Streaming on your own is a lot different. But one of the things I did is I created a friend for myself named Chat. Right. Yeah. And so I was constantly talking to Chat, my buddy Chat, until one day Chat answered me. And that was really cool, Nice. But it kind of gave me this mindset of, it allowed me to talk to someone, even though no one was there. Right. So I just kind of had to invent this little dude named Chat. And, in my head, I'm just talking to him all the time.
Like a rubber duck.
Yep. Just exactly. So, but yeah, you're right. That is a really hard part of that. And learning how to do the coding and produce the show and keep up with Chat and pay attention to what you're doing. That's the big skill, right? Is just being able to multitask while you're doing that. And things happen quickly. You also have to be your own technical support.
Yes.
So it's really nice to have a partner doing that. I will tell you from the Rubber Duck Dev Show that having my brother-in-law on there to kind of, he will work on some things and I can work on some things. And if I have to stop and look at something that's going on with the tech stuff, he can take over the conversation and keep the airwaves moving. That's extremely helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, I had an idea the last few days about streaming. I won't do it until January because I'm going on vacation now, but next week. But I had the idea of actually inviting people, one person maybe per day or every 2 days to start a project and do pair programming. But the idea is you are the navigator, I'm the driver. So I'm on the keyboard and you tell me what to do. And we come up with a very small project and see it grow for maybe 20 sessions, something like that. So that just to get the perspectives from other people, meeting other people. And the idea is to have a range of seniors, juniors, people for all around the world, focused on object-oriented, focused on programming. Yeah, a really nice mix of people doing just one project to see what comes out of it.
Yep. Yeah,
so I probably invite you to do that at some point.
Absolutely, man. I love pair programming. I'm a huge fan of pair programming because I think it's a great way to mentor junior programmers. It's also a great way for senior programmers to keep learning and to stay excited about programming. Because, after doing it for 20 or 25 years, you tend to get a little burnt out.
Yeah.
Right. But having someone to mentor and having them teach you new stuff really kind of reinvigorates your love for programming.
Yeah. And also having to explain things in very basic language and in very simple terms helps you understand or re-understand things that you keep you take for given, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I started content publication for financial focus. Maybe let's put it the other way. I started making a company focused on content publication partially because I feel like in a few years, in 10 years or so, as a programmer, I will be burned out and I will need a rest or alternative. And this kind of a backup plan actually makes me programming for longer.
Yep. Yeah. That's kind of what it did for me too. That was one of the reasons I wanted to start this show, is because I wanted to get back into programming, but I didn't want to just be sitting by myself at a keyboard doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of what I got burnt out on, was just, I spent most of my professional career in a room by myself banging on a keyboard. And, for some people, that's okay. That's how they like it. For me, that got a little lonely. I think that's part of what burned me out. So I wanted to go meet more people.
Yeah, that's nice.
And so I have a question to maybe that. Let's go to geek a little bit into the technical details of the streaming technologies.
Love it.
What are your tips for beginners? Just one idea that I had and struggled for a long time. When I started recording videos, I always struggled with audio. For example, I could not figure out how to record audio without all these random voices that comes out from my mouth and that I cannot remove without careful editing afterward. But at the same time, I saw people on YouTube that had completely no issue with that. They just streamed live without any editing and the audio was so great. And you shared with me the solution for that, but also I know that you have a lot of other hacks and combos in terms of hardware and software combination that you would like to share. So yeah, what kind of software do you use?
When I'm streaming, I use OBS, and I stream to OBS is set up to stream to restream.io. And then that in turn streams out to YouTube and Twitch. So we multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. One of the things that I was very conscious of when I was starting to streaming was I didn't have any money. So I had to find low cost or even better free things. And so all the software I use is free. I don't pay for any of the software, which is helpful when you're starting out streaming, because what you don't want to do is invest $1 million and then find out, oh, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
But like you said, audio is a big part of this. And audio is, I would say audio is the most important part of the streaming. And if you're going to spend any money, spend it on the microphone, right? That's the first place you want to put the money. And you don't have to put a lot of money. I found some microphones that I was getting for $20 or $30, some USB microphones that were really nice. They're not professional level, but they're really nice. They're clear. You can use them. You put a little bit of effects on them, some compression, some EQ and stuff, and they're perfectly fine. And I used that for a while until I upgraded to this, which is a Blue Yeti, which is also a USB mic. They're not terribly expensive. I mean, I think they're running $125, $130 US, thereabouts. So they're kind of a mid-range microphone, and they're USB. They're not XLR, but I've never, once I get this and I get the effects on and I get it all tuned right, I've never heard any issues with it where I thought, okay, now I need to go to a next level microphone, right? So this is kind of where I can be and be comfortable. The next thing that's really important with live streaming is really your lighting. Even before your camera, a lot of people think, oh, I got to get the best camera. No, you need to get good lighting, because even crummy cameras can look reasonably decent if you've got good lighting. But $500 cameras will look like crap if your lighting is not good. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on lighting. The only thing I've got here is 2 soft boxes up in the corner at 45s on me that cost me about $20 a piece. So I've put $40 into lighting plus the LED bulbs, daylight bulbs that are in them. So I've invested maybe $30 to $35 into lighting, but it lights my green screen sufficiently. So, I get nice green screening. It lights my face nice. It's not harsh shadows because they're soft boxes. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you want to pay attention to your lighting. That's important too. And then your camera, like you hear a lot about people who buy the big DSLR cameras and stuff. And those are great, but I'm using Logitech C922s, just webcams. I've been using those for years, and I haven't really seen a problem or felt a need to upgrade. Now, if I was using that DSLR camera for other things in my life, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I found that people using very good cameras record in high quality.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an option then to actually edit the video further and have some parts of the video where your face is on the full screen. And this is a big reason why people use high quality cameras. But yeah, I definitely totally support your way of starting low cost, trying out if you even like it, because this is the biggest question. Like, if you like publishing content, recording, editing, whatever, if you don't like it, you will not last for long. And
right.
Yeah. This is why it's not worth it to invest since the beginning, but you can start very low cost. And
yeah, I've been playing with my microphone. I'm not sure how can you listen to me right now, how well you can hear me. I've been playing with noise reduction and things like that. And the other thing I realized is that I have a nice phone, not the best phone ever, but it has a good camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using Linux, and I was able to connect my phone to my computer using, I think it's Irium webcam or something like that. So I could use my cell phone as a camera. So you don't need to actually buy a very expensive camera. You already have it.
No. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine anybody not having a cell phone who's going to be interested in streaming.
Yeah.
And every cell phone on the planet has a good camera in it.
Yeah.
So,
And right now I'm having this camera that a moment ago to be a chat. It looks like a slide share because it's not working properly. So yeah, I need to set up my cell phone to just work with it.
I actually started without camera at all. All my Hanami Master episodes are without camera because I was first not comfortable enough in front of camera to show myself. I made very goofy things with my face, and probably I still do. But the other way, and the other thing is that I had just no good camera and no lighting and so on. And I didn't want to edit half of the video, cut it out, and and display on the video my face jumping around because I edit parts of the video all the time. So I just focus on the audio. On the audio, there is less to worry about in terms of it's harder to notice that something is cut out.
Yeah, this is something personal, but in my opinion, I very much prefer screencasts not to have a face and then streams to have a face. I don't know why that is, but I get distracted on screencasts, and maybe it's because I use streams as a company, and having a face there helps that. And screencasts are very focused on the content itself, so having a face there distracts a bit from that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of an important. That's you asked me about tips for streaming. I think one of the important tips is understand what you're trying to accomplish with the stream. Are you trying to build community? Well, you want your face on there because that's going to be one of the easiest ways to build community and have people get to know you. Are you trying to just teach and impart information? Well, you probably don't need your face, and you need to put much more focus on the stuff you're teaching than the person you are, right? In a lot of cases. So I think it's very important that both streaming and curated produced videos exist because they serve different purposes and important purposes, right? So, but I think a big thing that helps with when you're getting streaming is kind of understand what it is you're trying to accomplish with the stream.
What do you actually trying to accomplish with your streams?
Community building. That first and foremost, it is meeting people, mentoring people, helping people meet each other, and just building community. That's what I like to do.
Except people reaching out to you via the stream on live sessions. Do you provide any kind of channels that those people can meet with each other and connect and interact with after the streams?
No, but I have been thinking about setting up a Discord for the dev show. I mean, I've got a personal Discord that I use, but I've been thinking about setting up a Discord for the Rubber Duck Dev Show because that's a good community space.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So I just, the only reason I haven't done it yet is just time spending, because it takes a while to set up, to gin up a Discord channel that is halfway decent. And so far I've just been kind of concentrating on getting the show going, plus, an actual day job, plus a family, plus, I mean, you guys know how all that goes.
Yeah.
And then you have to spend time on the Discord channel.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
This is exactly why I do not plan doing everything on my own.
Right.
But this is important because each of us have kids and like family, day job, and also some additional activities related to content creation. But each of us deal with them in complete different way. So I am wondering, what is your day plan? How do you plan your day and how you organize your activities to be able to weekly stream? I struggle personally with weekly Hanami Mastery episodes releases for 2 years already. And just teach me. How do you manage to stream every week or even a few times per week because you have 2 stream channels always on the same day, on the same time? And
so my secret is, and don't tell anybody, but I'm kidding. I don't really plan a whole lot. I'm more of a roll with the punches type of person. That's how I like to explore and find new things and have new things happen. So I tend to stay away from planning a lot, which drives my wife crazy because she's a planner. But the one thing we did do when my brother-in-law and I sat down and talked about doing the show is we knew it was important to pick a time and stick with it, at least for a while.
Yeah.
If you need to change the times, which is something we're talking about actually doing, that I'm talking about with him, because what we've realized is that 8 p.m. Eastern time is great for America, but it kind of precludes a lot of my European friends from participating because that's stupid o'clock in the morning for them. So we're talking about, because I'm mostly interested in community building, we're talking about shifting times. But one of the biggest things that helps me, because I'm very much about, I love to start new things, but then I get bored very easily with them and want to move on to more new things. But having a partner on the show who is very much a long-term person helps me stick with, okay, it's 8 p.m. on Wednesday night, we're going. So kind of having that accountability is important, because otherwise I would probably drop off or miss weeks, or just because I didn't feel like it that particular night, you know?
Yeah.
So
I'm the same way, by the way.
yeah, it's not any magical formula or super spreadsheet that I've got. It's just a desire to community build and meet new people is greater than my laziness. So, you know, that kind of keeps me going, and having a partner helps too, the accountability. And then once you do build a community, then you start feeling a little bit of responsibility and accountability to the community you've got. And, you know, they want you to show up. So you show up even on nights when you're like, oh God, I've been so busy. I just want to sit down in front of the TV and, you know, relax for a little while. But, you know, I've told people I'm going to be here, and people like to be here with me. So I'm going to go be.
I totally agree. It's important. I can confirm that it's important to release on the same day in the week, or just regularly. But because, for example, when I had it on March, when I had this just complete free month for my newborn, I did not release any episode for the whole month. But every Tuesday, I got a spike in traffic, because people just checked every Tuesday if I released something new. And that was kind of like very motivating, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. When people give you feedback, that's a huge thing. And that's why it's really hard to start streaming, because when you start, nobody knows you're there. And so you don't get a lot of that positive feedback.
Yeah.
You know, you have to talk to your imaginary friend named Chat, sit in a room by yourself. And it's kind of hard to stay motivated. You know,
This is why we very much appreciate your active feedback that you gave us on Twitter, even before we even started. That actually helped us a lot and motivated us to start this show, because it was very important to, we didn't even know how to ask if people want to see something like this, because we had no audience, and we are targeting new market really, because and you came up with just saying on Twitter that this is great and just start. And I wish more people would do that for any newcomers and new initiatives that came out on the web, because in very early days of any project, I think this is very, very much important and needed.
Yeah, especially if you need an audience and you don't have it. Yeah, it's very important to have someone.
Yeah, and it is, especially with streaming, because starting live streaming is, not only is it very nerve-wracking for most people, it's intimidating, but also it's tough to keep going, because there doesn't feel like there's anybody on the other end actually listening to you. Yeah. Right? You feel like you're just talking into the ether. So having a little bit of just attaboys on Twitter or something is really helpful for people. And that's something that I like to do. I want to get more people streaming, because I love doing it. I know how really awesome it is to get to meet people and talk to people and build that community. And I want other people to be able to experience that too. So I'm very encouraging of people live streaming, and just jump into it. You know, grab a little webcam or your phone, get your gaming mic on, and download OBS and go, you know. And if you need help, I've offered many, many times for people, you know, if you don't know how to do this, or you want some tips, or you want some help, or you want to get on a Zoom call for an hour and have me walk you through something, just hit me up on Twitter. I'm very happy to help people get going with this. I love this stuff.
Thanks very much.
That's so nice. Great. Yeah.
And do you have at the moment, because I know that when you started there were some maybe psychology issues you needed to overcome, like fear of talking to yourself or whatever. Now, after a few years of streaming, is there any challenge that you face right now that you are focused to overcome, that you fight with?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, like I mentioned before, is kind of my tendency to get bored with things real easy. So even though I like streaming, I want to, I'll do it for 6 months and then say, okay, I want to change the format and I want to tinker with this and I want to do this different thing. And, and my brother-in-law is like, dude, what? Whoa. So let's just keep going here. But one of the reasons that I decided to go ahead and start the coding with Chris is because it gave me a reason to go play with some new streaming technology stuff and try some new plugins for OBS and have a different format that I could play with every week. So, I get that little bit of variety and it's not such a samey thing, which is important for me. Now, that's not important for all people. Some people like the repetitiveness in the schedule and knowing, all right, Wednesday at 8:00, I get to be here and it feels good because I know what's happening. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's important, I think, when you're streaming or when you're trying to set up, to build the communities around your streams and stuff, it's important to realize that different people think differently about things. And the tips that work for me in streaming will work for some people, but will not work for others because they don't have the same psychology that I do. Right. Like, for example, some people I've been doing this for 3 years. This is what my Wednesday nights look like. And I love that. That's what I want. Right. That's not me. And that's not other people too. But, that's, I think, why it's important one of the purposes that streaming serves is that it puts the real you out there and it allows other people to see this is how this person thinks and approaches things. And they've got foibles and weirdisms and they make mistakes and they goof things up and they're not perfect. So I feel like I can connect with them because I'm not either. And even though I may think things differently, we're both goofing it up somehow. So, let's goof it up together.
Yeah, this whole podcast thing was with the intention of showing to the world the behind the scenes of how the life of content creators looks like and how the driving the business looks like in reality. Because what people see at the end is the final result after all the edits. So, for example, just you as an example, you are streaming, you don't edit and nothing like that. But over years, you have quite good streams. But if we will just browse the oldest videos, we will see all the goofs around and the quality would be way worse. And what I like to do when I was trying YouTube for the first time, I started to learn how to YouTube successfully, how to make YouTube videos successfully. And I browsed a few very successful YouTube channels and just browsed the videos from the oldest to the newest and checked their first videos. And the really nice gems were on the channel, for example, of Mr. Beast. This is one of the most popular YouTube channel in the history. Mm-hmm. And his oldest videos are so random, so unplanned, so amateur mess. And it was so motivating to see that everyone starts from somewhere and successful people just started. And this is what is the difference. Not the special skills that they had at the beginning, but the decision that they started and they kept up over the years to improve their skills over time, one step after the other, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's everybody who starts with the streaming or the video or the produced videos, stepping in front of a camera is, for most people, the hardest thing they ever do. Just getting up the courage to get in front of a camera and hit the record or the go live button is really difficult. The rest of the stream is super easy compared to that. Just that one step, right? Everybody I've ever talked to that started streaming is like, I can't get myself to get in front of the camera. I'm just too scared. And I'm like, okay, but just pretend the camera isn't there, but I can see myself. Well, take that window away. Don't look at yourself. Just sit there and do your thing, man.
For me, it is
without the camera.
Right.
For me, it is still an issue. And this is why I started working with Fede and inviting guests to the podcast, because I need to talk to other person I have no skill just yet to talk to myself or to the camera eye. And it really just simplifies me the way to record something and publish something useful for the people without being too hardcore and just pushing myself too far away, right?
Yeah. But it is hard. I mean, being on camera, even after I've done this for so long, I'm still very self-conscious about being on camera, right? When I glance over at OBS, because I've got the confidence monitor, because I have to watch what's going on, make sure the camera's coming through and the audio's coming through. So I glance over and I see myself, and I'm just like, every time I do, I'm like, oh, cringe. Oh man. But you're always your own worst critic. And so I try to keep that in mind, thinking, I think I'm a mess, but a lot of people have told me, they come in and they say, oh, we enjoy that. We like that. Are you coming back? And that's kind of what gets you through that. And so it's, even though I still struggle with that, the stage fright, as it were, having community building behind you is very helpful for letting you kind of push through that and learn how to deal with it. Not that it ever goes away, but you learn how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
So I have one more question related, because we want to touch different aspects of the streaming as a way of living. And this also wonders me, comparing to other kind of medium for content publications, what streaming looks from financial point of view. So we already know that it's cheap. It's cheap. You don't need a whole team to edit videos. You don't need publishers. You can automate basically everything. You can automatically pre-process audio live while streaming. So you can start very, very cheap. And taking that into the considerations, could you make a living out of streaming? Especially as we are developers, we are most interested in publishing content for devs, but of course we can extend it.
Yes, you can actually make a very good living on streaming. I've made zero money off of Rubber Duck Dev Show or Coding with Chris, but that's because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make a living with that. I don't want that to be my job. I want that to be my escape from my job, right? So I'm kind of actively not pursuing making a living with that. But yes, you can, because it doesn't take a tremendous amount of money to get going. What it takes is a tremendous amount of willpower, because it's not, except in extraordinarily rare circumstances, it is not an overnight thing. The people that you see being successful at streaming have been doing it for a very long time. And, they'll spend 3, 4, 5 years doing it at night, sometimes 4 or 5 nights a week, to get enough content out there to get to a point where they can finally say, okay, I'm making enough money now on the streaming, I can quit my job. But it's not like, hey, I start streaming, I can go quit my job. I mean, you can. Probably not the wisest thing to do, though.
I am a huge fan of Minecraft, and I watch a lot of streams, but not lot of them live. I usually rewatch streams published on YouTube, or even gameplays that are published are regular videos. And I have tons of examples of Minecrafters that were published videos every single week for 5-7 years. And only after that, they managed to quit or reduce the job. But since they quit the job after those 5 years of content publications, regular content publications, and growth of their channels were just crazy, just super, super, super fast, because this is how YouTube works. First 100 videos just do not matter in terms of income or in terms of traffic. But they really matter long term. Because to publish second 100 videos that actually matter, you need to have those first published already.
Yeah, that's true. You need to have some content. The other thing that I've talked to people about, and that I've come to believe myself, is don't rely on YouTube or Twitch's algorithms to put your stuff in front of people. You have to figure out how to put your stuff in front of people. You have to do the networking and the marketing and the door knocking and meeting people to get them to come to your stream, because they're coming to your stream not because of what you're programming or what you're playing. They're coming there because they like talking to you. Otherwise, they would just watch your videos on YouTube on their own time, right?
Yeah.
So if you want people to come watch your streams, I mean, you have to concentrate on being entertaining for them, but they're there to talk to you or to be talked to by you. Some of them don't like to talk in chat, which is perfectly fine, but they're there to be part of a community, not to watch you do the thing you're doing, right? So in order to get people to come to that and want to support that, you have to be out there doing your own marketing. And you have to market yourself as something that people want to come be part of. So I have never, and like I said, I don't make a living off of this stuff. I make no money doing this. I do it because I like it. And that's all I want it to be. But I do spend a lot of time marketing because I want people to come to the show. Not because I'm interested in the financial part of it, but because I'm interested in the community building part of it. I want the more people that are there, the bigger the community is, right? So, and the more people I get to meet. But that still takes marketing because, nobody knows I'm here unless I go out and tell people I'm here, right?
Exactly.
And YouTube doesn't care if I'm here or not. They're not going to do me any favors, right?
I have a question about that. How exactly are you marketing? What are your channels?
Well, we have a website, so rubberduckdevshow.com. Most of the marketing and networking, though, happens in Twitter. I am not a power Twitter user by any means. I never got into Twitter until we started the show. And I realized that a lot of programmers hang out in Twitter, so I better go there.
Yeah.
Before that, I never really got the point of Twitter. But I have a lot of fun with it now that I've gotten into it. But the social media thing, I cut a lot of it out of my life on purpose because it had turned all toxic and nasty, and I just didn't need that political. It was all political and nasty and toxic, and I was like, I don't need that. I just want to program. So, but I never really understood Twitter because I like to talk a lot, and also I like to type a lot. So limiting me to 140 characters was like, putting duct tape over my mouth. And I was like, I don't need that. But turns out that's where a lot of the programming community hangs out. So if you want to market to people, you got to go where they are, right? They're not going to come to you just because you're pretty.
I totally agree. When I started Hanami Master, Hanami was in pre-alpha. It was just development version. And there were 5 years time break between the last release and the Hanami 2 release. So the community, like people who started using 5 years ago, Hanami actually were there, but there were so little people. It was like maybe overall hundreds active people, active developers on the web that I could reach out to. And finding them out was really interesting. Mm-hmm. So it was very challenging, but I have the same story. I had no Reddit account previous to Hanami Mastery, and also Twitter was just not live at all. Like my Twitter account was just registered, and I never published anything there. So I am the same in these terms. I don't understand and really need social media too much, but I enjoy it now. But there was a period of time when I had 12 different social media or chat applications installed on my phone, including Gitter, including Reddit, Twitter, Mastodon, Facebook, and things like that, because I wanted to just reach out to all the peeps interested in Hanami at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's hard to keep up with too.
It's hard to, that's exactly what I was going to say. Very hard to keep up with social media sometimes.
Oh yeah. And it flies by so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard for me to keep up with Discord channels as well.
So we are hitting the 1 hour time mark. So before we wrap up, this was again, it was just too awesome to end up earlier, right?
Yeah.
Previously we had like 30 minutes chat that end up with being a 2 hours call.
Yeah.
Wow.
But before we wrap up, how people can find you and reach out to you before you leave?
Oh, the best way to reach out to me is just to message me on Twitter. You can follow us at Ducky Dev Show, and I pretty much constantly have Twitter up, so I'll get messages there. Or you can email rubberduckdevshow@gmail.com. We have a Gmail account. You can also go to rubberduckdevshow.com, and all our videos and podcasts and stuff are there. And you can sign up for a newsletter, which doesn't yet exist, but maybe someday we'll have it. I mean, you do get the, hey, we released the episode email, but maybe we'll do a newsletter one day. But there's so many good newsletters out there. I don't really see a need to compete with that. So, but yeah, and like I said, I'm soon probably going to start setting up a Discord channel because I want to be able to talk to people more about the streaming stuff and be able to have that kind of community going too. Because like I said, I geek out about this stuff. So
let us know when it comes out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
But thank you so much for inviting me on the show. I had a blast. I love talking to you guys. This was fun.
Thank you for
coming. Yeah, it was
sure.
very fun.
And yeah. So thank you very much. Have a happy day. I don't know. Yeah, it's morning on your part. So have a happy morning. Take another coffee.
Yep. Going to get a coffee and a stroopwafel after this.
See you then.
Yeah. All right.